My name is Mike Garlia.
And I'm Steve Jones.
When Steps, the Backstreet Boys and Westlife dominated the pop charts, we decided to write a script.
Based on our experiences as holiday entertainers.
It's sat in an attic for the last 16 years. How terrible is the writing? How awful will the acting be?
Only you can help us decide.
This is Bad Scripts.
Welcome back to another episode of Bad Scripts. Mike, nice to see you again.
Yes, nice to hear you too, Steve. So here we are, another episode, another one down. Do you know, for 2 episodes, which is coming up to about an hour's now of recording, it doesn't feel like we've moved very far, does it? I think the previous episode was very montagey, so it was very stop and start. So I guess for me, I'm really looking forward and excited to get actually into the story, because I don't think we've actually broken the story yet. Got to know our main characters. So for this recording tonight, I'm really, really looking forward to getting into the story.
We're back on resort. We're finally on resort. And we're in the office of Mark, the entertainment manager. And it's the day after the auditions. Mark, Wayne and Judy are sat around the table drinking coffee. The application forms from the auditionees are spread out all over the desk. All 3 of them look exhausted.
I think I'm going boz-eyed.
Yeah, me too.
There were a few hopefuls, plenty of nutcases this year. I know, it's all the publicity and hype around this, relaunch. Seems to have, attracted them all.
Alan and Kevin enter the room.
Wow, so this is where it gets complicated. Alan is the first to speak. Morning, troopers. Heard it was a successful day yesterday. It was good.
Come on then, let's see the new faces of Camp Holidays.
Well, we're still trying to sort through them all. So many people turned up yesterday, it's going to take a few days. That's what I like to see, going through them with a fine-tooth comb.
Before I forget, we just closed a very exciting deal with the Slovakian State Circus. One of their acts will be performing here throughout the season. Female? We don't know yet. We should expect them in about a month.
Yes, and we need to arrange a trapeze rig near the outside stage. Okay then, folks. Sorry to love you and leave, but we have prior engagements. I'll leave the trapeze rig up to you then, Mark. Thank you, and bye.
Kevin and Alan leave. Wayne is laughing and looking quite smugly at Mark.
I don't know what you're laughing at. You're sorting it out. That was very sitcom-y, wasn't it? That was very...
And I think we must have done about 5 characters each there in that scene, so if anybody's confused, don't worry, so will we. And we had the words in front of us, so... What do we glean from that then? So they're poring over the names and the auditionees to create a short list of who they want to employ. And the execs have turned up and gone, and oh, by the way, you're going to be hosting a Slovakian circus troupe, and they're going to be performing every weekend. Oh, by the way, you need to sort out all of their gear for them.
I think that sounds really exciting. We're going to get some Slovakians joining on that one as well. That should open some non-English speaking drama.
It should, and let's hope that we keep the xenophobia down to a 5 at that point then, hopefully.
Look, I'm just going to say it out loud. Judy's getting quite smoky. I think she's getting quite husky in that one.
She is.
She had one line, and
I
can really feel her character starting to come alive. Come to the forefront of the show.
I think she might be.
They've got a few days to go through and make their selections. What could possibly go wrong?
You're going to be playing Mark again, and I'm gonna be Mark's secretary, Karen, for this one.
So, yes, we're introducing a brand new character called Karen. Steve, do you just want to, from what you remember, do you want to give us a little bit of an overview of who Karen is?
Yeah, so I think Karen has worked at Camp Holidays for a long time. She's had all sorts of different jobs around the park, all the kind of departments she's had a bit of a hand in, and she kind of loves working there. So I think this job for her is her absolute favourite thing in the world. is to just be involved with the Ents guys in
I think you've
some
been
way
very
or another.
kind there, Steve. I think the word to use is ditzy. I think was the word I was really looking for, but I think you've been more than kind to kind of really build her up there.
I think she's one of those. She's very capable, and she can do her job, but she may be a little bit accident prone and a little bit. Ditzy's a good term, I think, for that.
Spoilers, ladies and gentlemen.
Interior reception area. 1 week later, Mark's secretary Karen is sat at her desk typing very slowly. Mark enters.
I've got to go to a meeting. On my desk are 2 piles of profiles.
2 profiles, right, got it.
Yeah, one pile has a post-it note saying no, and the other one has one saying yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Now, Karen, this is the important bit.
Oh, should I write it down?
If you really need to. Good. Right. The no pile need to be sent a copy of this letter explaining that they weren't successful. And the yes pile, the one over here, need to be sent this letter saying they are. Have you got that?
Yeah.
Would you like to run that back by me?
The no pile is not successful, and the yes pile are.
Well done. Now I must go. See you tomorrow.
Bye, Mr. Stevens. Karen enters the office. She looks around for the piles, spots them, and walks over.
Interior reception. Karen walks into the shop carrying both files. She's struggling to hold them all. Just as she reaches her desk, the phone rings. Karen jolts in surprise and consequently drops all the files on the floor, mixing them all up. Karen looks at the mess and then answers the phone.
Good evening, entertainment. Sorry, I think you got the wrong number. No, this is 832561. Okay, bye.
Karen replaces the handset and begins picking up the files, mixing them up. She quickly divides them up into 2 random groups, carefully placing the 2 post-it notes on the top of both piles. Karen sighs happily to herself and leaves the room. A few seconds later, the light in the room goes out into darkness.
Exterior of the resort now. Alan, Kevin, and Mark are escorting the executives around the almost finished exterior of the resort. Alan is explaining everything. We see him pointing a lot, and the execs nodding excitedly. We're inside the main venue, and it's 2 weeks later. The main venue is decorated with ribbons and a huge banner saying welcome. There are balloons and confetti everywhere. Kevin, Alan, Mark, and Wayne are all dressed smartly. Alan looks at his watch impatiently.
So, is the problem sorted out yet?
From behind the sound system, Eddie pops up. Won't be a minute. I'll just send a crew off for a jet lead.
Whatever. Will it be ready in time?
It should be. Give me 5. I'll have it up and running and purring like a pussycat. When will our new stars be arriving?
Anytime now.
Alan's mobile phone rings. He quickly answers it, speaks quickly and hangs up.
Just gonna nip to the gate.
Alan leaves. Judy enters with all the new staff. They are all making lots of noise and there is excitement in the air.
And here is our adult venue where, as you can see, we're having a party. Well, don't get too excited. It is for your benefit.
Well, welcome everyone. Hope you've all had a nice journey here. And yes, as you can see, we're throwing you a party which the company has paid for, so everything's free.
Hey! Yeah, everyone cheers. Oh, forget it. I'm getting a drink.
Judy makes her way over to the bar and the music starts. We're now moving 1 hour into the party and we're still in their adult venue. And as the stage notes are now depicting, dotted around the party are our main characters. Yes, they're finally here.
We made it. We're here.
So they are, and take note, Adam, Kelly, Donna, Robin, Dan, and Sam. They are all stood with groups of people. So, Mike, if we go through the list and we can say whether they were there and how we might remember them. First of all, Adam.
I think this is the first time Adam has been mentioned.
Yeah, we definitely
didn't
see him at the audition.
We definitely didn't, but it's interesting because if we recap on the last scene with what our wonderful receptionist did, Karen, she mixed up the no and the yes pile and then randomly scooped them to the side and created a pile of mixtures of yes and no's. And obviously some of the wrong people have been hired. We don't know whether Adam was in a yes or a no.
Absolutely, and I guess that's what we're going to find out over the course of the next few episodes.
Absolutely.
Next up was Kelly.
So Kelly was the very assured singer who really knew what she wanted and led with Follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Which you are still going to sing before the end of the season, I am determined.
Yeah, that may not happen.
Then
And
we
Donna?
have Donna. Donna was our very quiet talker. Donna didn't say a lot. She was very shy. So we've heard from Donna. We know who she is to some extent. Robin was our dancer. We didn't hear from him, but we saw him moving. Good guy. Probably was one in the yes pile, I imagine.
Maybe, but he was definitely in the montage of really good dancers. As we remember, Dan was the Mancunian trying to sell the Entertainment Manager DVDs. The white boy, basically, and not really having much place being there. And Sam.
Back to the scene.
Dan is walking on his own. He spots Sam and makes his way over to her. Can I just say that you are the fittest bird here?
Sorry?
There's no need to be sorry. Have you got a boyfriend?
No.
My name's Dan, but my mates call me Dan the Man.
Sam.
Segue into Kelly and Donna's conversation. This is my first time away from home.
Okay, listeners, interesting fact, I live in Scotland and
have
cannot
done
do
for how long?
16 years now and still cannot do a Scottish accent, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Okay, I'm going to commit to the role. Go for it again, Steve.
a female Scottish accent as well, so not even just your own. Okay.
Yeah, this is
right,
really
we'll start
extending.
Again, Donna. This is my first time away from home.
Me too. Where are you from? Okay, I'm just practicing my range.
Mate, I'm from Kent. You?
Scotland.
Segues back to Dan and Sam. Dan is now trying to impress Sam by breakdancing really badly. She stands watching him, not knowing what to do. The music suddenly stops and Dan tumbles to the floor. He shouts loudly, "What the hell's going on? I was just getting started!" The camera pans around to the face of the stage. Kevin and Alan are stood on it, along with the rest of the management team.
Ladies and gentlemen, sorry to stop the party, but I just want to take this opportunity to welcome you all, and I'm sure this season will be a great success and an enjoyable one. It all started with a dream.
We close up on Judy and Mark. Mark whispers to Judy,
You know, I'm sure half of these were no opers. Well, I can remember pointing her on the talentless pile.
Judy points to Kelly.
Hold on.
He turns to Karen.
Did you send the right letters out, didn't you?
Yeah, the power of the S's went to people who were getting jobs, and the power of the No's went to the people who weren't getting jobs.
Karen, you are sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, I must have made a mistake. Mark, I'll go and make some calls, find out what went wrong.
We pan back round to Alan as he's just finishing his big speech.
So thank you for choosing Camp Holidays!
Dan, who is now a little drunk, begins to cheer like a football hooligan. There is a close-up on Mark.
Oh, God.
It's the next morning, and we are outside the main entrance. It's a cloudy morning, and the entire team are stood outside in their new uniforms. There's a big ribbon tied around the front gate, and beyond that is Kevin, Alan, and Mark. Behind the ribbon are a few reporters and photographers.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the press. Today is a very special day. It all started with an idea and ended with a dream. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I was sat gazing out the...
We close up on Mark.
God, how many times are we going to hear this crap?
I don't know. But look at the size of the reporter's arse. You could park a wheelbarrow in that.
Do you always have to insult people?
Yeah.
And we knew, yes, we knew there had to be a change. So millions of pounds later, we unveil this, our new, modernised, up-to-date, state-of-the-art complex. We cater for everybody, from the young and free to the average family. We want to bring the holiday back to Britain. When Kevin and myself began to arrange this very special day, we thought, who would be prestigious enough? Who would be the ideal person to officially open this park? And then I remembered my old friends. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Keith Chegwin.
Wow. The late, great Mr. Keith Chegwin now, unfortunately.
Yes, may he rest in peace. Well, he lives on. He lives on in a script that he's never seen.
The campcoats are all lined up, split in the middle to reveal Keith Chegwin, who is flanked by Bob the security guard. Keith runs down to the front of the gate. Everyone is clapping.
Hey, hello, campers!
We don't call them that anymore. What a twat. Knew he'd mess it up.
You're only jealous.
Of what?
The fact that he made it on TV, Wayne.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah. You presented one episode of some crappy kids show on cable television.
2, actually, and I'm still getting royalties.
I now declare this resort, in Cheggy Chegger style, open!
Keith proceeds to cut the ribbon. Everybody claps. Now, all feel free to come and have a look around the park. There will be tea and refreshments throughout the day. But first, let's hear another round of applause for my good friend, Keith Chegwin.
Yeah, well done, Keith. Just rest in peace, Keith.
The press enter the car park and the rest of the crowd begin to disperse. Wayne calls over the campcoats. Right, you and you, stay on the gate. The rest of you, walk around the park and talk to people. And report to wardrobe, pointing to Dan. Why is your shirt hanging out? 'Cause it's the fashion. Tuck it in or find a new job. There's no such thing as fashion around here. I can see that, mate. I'm not your mate. I'm not your friend. I'm your boss. Now get to work, everyone.
Wayne leaves.
Wanker.
Everyone else just looks at him and shakes their head. Anyone remember where wardrobe is?
Kelly whispers. Or Kelly proclaims.
In a really bad Scottish accent.
We're now inside the wardrobe department.
Okay, I was told to come here.
Why, eh? Can you put this on? He hands her a catsuit.
What's it for?
Daisy remains silent.
What am I doing?
You'll see.
Is it something really glamorous? Will I be wearing a costume?
Oh, really glamorous.
What kind of costume is that?
This one? A close-up on Kelly's horrified face. We don't see the costume itself.
I'm not wearing that. Okay, can I just
Well,
apologise to everyone who's Scottish? I'm not only trying to do a female Scottish, I'm trying to do Scottish accent, and I realise it definitely does not sound Scottish. But I'll do the best I can do. I will persevere.
There was, and I think we have to call that out because of your defamation of my Dan earlier in the episodes that we can't allow that to fly. That you definitely moved around. I think at one point we were Welsh, at the part we were Irish. But we did, you managed to stay in the UK, so that was good.
Well, I'm just doing regional. I'm doing regional Scottish accents. Just trying to find the right one for Kelly. She's travelled. She's travelled from Aberdeen to Inverness to Falkirk to Glasgow to Edinburgh. She has been around, this girl. So it is a mixture of all 5 of those regional dialects. Glamorous. Just well, I don't know what Daisy, the wardrobe manager, has handed to Kelly, to be honest with you. I can't remember.
I can't remember. But she seems a bit smug, considering she's never met this girl, and it's just like, here, put this on. Seems a little bit like, whoa.
I mean, have you ever met a wardrobe manager before?
Yeah, many of them. They can be quite forthright. To be fair, you don't want to mess with the wardrobe mistress or wardrobe manager.
No. Okay, so let's move on to the next day then. So it's mid-morning and we're in the main venue. The press are now all gathered in the reception. Amongst them are Kevin, Alan and Mark. Daisy, the wardrobe manager, enters and quietly whispers in Kevin's ear. Kevin then steps forward and faces the crowd.
Thank you all for waiting so patiently. We're ready to now reveal exclusively, never seen before, the new camp mascot.
Kevin waves at Daisy at the back of the room.
Send it in. Willie the Walrus has now retired. Please let me introduce Moo the Cow.
The main venue door opens and Daisy walks through. From behind her, we can only just see the outline of the costume. The camera pans around to see the crowd's face. They all look a little shocked. Alan is the first one to move and he starts clapping maniacally. Eventually, the rest of the crowd join him. The camera pans around to the office door and stood in the middle of the stage is Moo the Cow, a large black and white spotted cow with very large udders that are scraping the floor. The face has a very dopey looking smile on it and its head has a red baseball cap positioned backwards with Moo written on it.
Come over here, Mew, and let's have a closer look at you.
Moo begins to walk over, but struggles to move due to the sheer size of the udders. Every time the head lowers, a very loud moo noise comes out. Kelly, who is inside, is obviously not happy about doing the character. So what's worse, Willie the Walrus or Moo the Cow?
I suppose it depends who you are and whether you're inside it or not. I guess they're trying to move forward, and it's one of those instances of we need everything to be different, but actually is different better. Would Willie the Walrus be a better mascot? We'll let everyone at home decide. We're now at the main entrance, and it's the afternoon.
The camp is now beginning to fill up with people curious on the new design. Dan and a few other camp coats are greeting guests as they arrive. A car full of girls arrive and pull up beside Dan. Dan speaks to the other camp coats.
Leave this one to me.
Dan struts stupidly over to the passenger window.
Hello, ladies. You're looking fine. I'd like to welcome you to camp. My name is Dan, the Love Machine. I know what you're thinking, but don't worry. There's plenty of Dan to go around.
Well, as you can imagine, the girls in the car tut, shake their heads and drive off. Dan talks to the other camp coats.
They were gagging for it.
Do you know who Dan just suddenly reminds me of?
Thingy from the In-Betweeners?
Yeah, that's exactly where my mind went to with that one. It sounds like that character from that show, doesn't it?
Completed it, mate. Completed it.
Yeah, it totally sounds like that for some reason. That's who I'm imagining now with Dan.
Yeah.
Except a kind of Mancunian / not Mancunian.
Right, we're back in Mark's office. It's mid-afternoon. Mark is sat at his desk, and there is a knock at the door.
Come in.
The door opens, and Karen and Mr. Stevens, the Slavakini, the circus bloke's here.
Oh, well, does this circus bloke have a name?
Yeah.
Give it here. Just give it here.
She passes him the paper. He studies it for a second.
Why don't you just send him in, eh?
Karen leaves, and a few seconds later, she returns with the Slovakians and a female translator. Mark is surprised.
I wasn't expecting to. Okay, well, hello, and my name's Mark. It's a pleasure to meet you. How was your journey?
Actually, I'm not Slovakian. I'm the translator. I'll be here for a few days until everything's settled.
Okay. Well, my name's Mark.
Yes, and this is Vladimir Romanovsky.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Vladimir. How was your journey?
The translator turns to Vladimir and speaks very slowly. How was your journey? Vladimir looks confused. No problem. No. How was your...
It doesn't matter. It honestly, it doesn't matter. Hello.
Privyet. He said privyet.
Thanks. What does that mean?
I'm not really sure. I think it was Russian.
Right. Well, look, if you'd like to go with Karen, she'll take you to your accommodation and get you settled.
We are going to your apartment to get you settled. Okay? No problem.
Is that all right, Karen?
Yeah, no problem.
Mark rolls his eyes and sighs heavily as they all leave his office. Wayne enters.
Who are they?
Oh, don't ask.
I'm asking.
We've got a Slovakian who doesn't speak a word of English, and a translator who doesn't speak a word of Slovakian. Couldn't be better.
You've got Kevin and Alan to thank for that, and everybody else for that matter. Why do they have to bloody change everything? It was fine the way it was.
Well, you're not a camp coat now, are you? I do agree. It had to change with the times. It was getting a little bit tedious, and at least we've got a decent-sized budget this year.
They won't work. It's not like the old days. When I was a camp coat, you didn't need money to entertain people. It was all about talent.
The changes have been made now, so everyone had better get used to it, including you. This summer's going to be different, if not interesting, whether you like it or not.
I'll tell you what this summer's going to be. A long one. So, Mike, we've worked out that not all of these camp coats are probably the first choice that the guys had. This mix-up that Karen has inadvertently had.
Fate at play, perhaps? Some higher force? Or just sheer stupidity?
It could be. I think there's probably a middle point where that sort of combines the two, and that's what we're having to deal with.
See, I think we've written, obviously, Karen, we portrayed her as relatively ditzy, and I think that continues throughout the entire trilogy of scripts that we've got. I disagree. I think she's incredibly clever. I think she knows exactly what she's doing, and she thinks, I'm going to mix this up a little bit, because if we look at it the other way and we hadn't written it in that particular way, would you say that was the MacGuffin? Would you say that's the principle of the story, to bring the drama and to kind of unify it?
I mean, it's a massive catalyst to what's going to happen for the rest of the season. If they got all of their first choice people, it could be very boring, couldn't it? I mean, you still have stories, but we're going to have such a wide variety of character types and capability levels. I think that makes it that much more interesting. I think it's that overcoming the adversity of dealing with the unconscious incompetence of some of the staff members that's going to really, I don't know, unify them, and hopefully brings the audience to really enjoy their growth as entertainers and as performers, and the way that they grow into those roles. Though we see some revelations in terms of people who in those auditions didn't make it, who actually go on to be, decent performers and decent. Or are they going to fall on the backsides? I guess.
Well, the question is, Steve, because during your audition and during my audition, we weren't together, so I would never have known who you were. But let me ask you a question, and be honest, because it was a long time ago. Would you be on a yes pile, or would you be on a no pile?
Well, I'd hope that I was on a yes pile, because you kind of say we'd done theatre since we were little. Both of us had quite parallel youths in that sense, that we'd done a lot of local amateur theatre and theatre at school and college, and we'd performed. We'd been bitten by that acting bug, and we wanted to be out there doing it. And this was, aside from going to somewhere like one of the big performing arts schools, this was another apprenticeship in performance, and more of a variety entertainment performance, so a more generalised thing. So I'd like to think that we'd had that little bit of preparation for it, whereas some people had never done anything. There was a few people we worked with who'd never performed really, and they'd been brought in because of their personalities maybe, or because they were on the no pile, but they had a cheeky smile, and we might be able to make up the numbers if we're a bit short here and there. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I'm definitely a no pile. 100%. 100%. And I'll tell you for why. How I got that job and subsequently met you, I have no idea. I'm going to take you back to my audition. The night before, I worked as a dancer in a nightclub in West Yorkshire, and I consider that very masculine, actually. I was up partying all night with people, and I got to my bed at 5 o'clock in the morning and was woken up at 7 o'clock to take a 3-hour drive to that audition. And I remember sitting there and having the person auditioning me talking through my CV and everything. I for some reason, couldn't even speak because I was coughing too much. I had a really dry throat, and I just could not seem to get any water. And I'm trying not to cough. You know, your eyes start streaming and stuff like that. And then all I feel is this tap on my shoulder, and there's my mother stood right behind me, going, "Would you like a mint?" That was my audition, right?
Oh,
Would
wow.
you like a mint?
What
And I
was
remember
you-
the person looking at me went, "Thank you. I think I've seen enough."
Oh, wow.
And that was that.
Did you think at that point, yeah, it's a no from us. Thank you and goodbye.
I was like, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. So to get a phone call, Karen must have definitely got that file lost, because to get that phone call and ask me to start a few days later, they were either really, really desperate, or they were just desperate, I think.
The point is, and this is something I say because for those people that don't know us and that have never heard of us before and what have you, we joined slightly later in the season than most people. I think the general auditions were in about January time. I think it wasn't until about April, May that we actually started in a second wave of auditions, a desperate attempt to get enough people in because they'd not recruited the volume that they needed. And so I think that we kind of had, for that first season at least, a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like, we'd come in and we'd maybe got in the back door. And it wasn't until we did our second season that we realised that actually we'd been kept on because of the fact that we were able to do the job, that we were capable. I think our CVs and our experience, aside from the auditions themselves, things, for them to have the confidence to say, here's a job and here's a house. I say a house, caravan, go and live in the caravan. Where would we be without it now? This is 20 odd years of friendship that we built up as a result of being placed in that same caravan together. So, everything happens for a reason, and we earned our stripes throughout that first season, which I consider that first season to be one big audition. I think we all, we were justifying our existence for that whole first year.
It was the summer where we found ourselves for the first time. An awakening of sorts.
We're back to those awakenings. It's not near Sandringham again, is it? You seem to be obsessed with these awakenings.
The segmentation from boys to men and all of that type of stuff. Yeah, to kind of close this bit off, stranger things have happened. And as I said in the very first episode, for those people listening to this who are experienced in auditions, it's a mixture of bravado, right place, right time, a little bit of luck, and some talent. But it's very, very difficult to showcase yourself in a short space of time. And if you do find yourself flagging, make sure you have a little old lady with grey hair offering you a mint, because it helped me.
So we've met our main cast now. Well, we've met some of them. We've heard of them. Adam's not spoken yet. We've not seen him do anything. Sam has been hit on by Dan already. So Sam, I guess, is an attractive, understated kind of girl. Probably isn't aware how beautiful she is at the same time. Quite down to earth. Dan's this brash white boy. Tries it on with all the girls. Straight in there, mate. Doing what I can. Got to get the girls on side. How's that going to work? How is he going to be successful with Sam? Is this something he's going to?
No, I think I can confidently say that I don't think that's going to happen. But remember, if Dan lacks self-awareness, then there's always going to be another character that has an abundance of self-awareness, and we haven't yet met that person yet. So I think there's definitely going to be opposites, because that's kind of what you do when you do these things. Is each character needs to have a particular trait.
Yin to their yang.
The yin to the yang. I think whether we come to like Dan throughout would be up to anyone to guess. I can say right now confidently, I don't particularly like him.
Not at this point. Definitely not.
No, not at this point. And the way he's portrayed, but
maybe
he might be the foil. I think there's going to be some comedic foils there as well. I mean, there's a few unlikable characters that have come out so far. Wayne is another unlikable character. Yeah. There doesn't seem to be any redeeming factor or redeeming quality. And as you're imagining these characters, we'd love to hear from you in terms of how you think they look, regardless of our accents. In that visionary kind of language that we're using, does a certain person come into your mind in terms of someone that resembles this particular person, but victims of their time, I would say.
Definitely. And now we've met the new mascot. There is no more Willie the Walrus. We are now Moo the Cow.
Moo the Cow. Where did we come out with this genius? Willie the Walrus and Moo the Cow.
And I think we were particularly lucky because, I mean, whilst not being giants of this world, I think we're both about the same height, about 5'11". So we're not tiny. But it did mean that for the majority of the characters that were where we were, you couldn't really wear the big sort of moo the cow type costume because we were too tall. They didn't make them big enough. It tended to be the girls that would be dressed in the costumes of the smaller guys. So we kind of looked out there a little bit, didn't we?
So, Steve, we are now officially a quarter of the way through the script. That's right, a quarter of the way through of script
episode
1 of 3.
Of script. Don't forget we have
Yes.
3 episodes to...
1 of 3. I would say right now that for those people listening to this, we'll have a fair assessment on the writing and what we're trying to convey. The question that we should be asking right now is, as it stands right now, is it a bad script?
I'd really like to hear what people think. I know the listeners out there have been really positive in the feedback that they've given us so far, but I don't know about you, Mike. My opinion, there are a few minutes I've cringed about. There's a few things we've written where I've gone, did we really want to say that? Or, was our language probably what we'd like to say now? Maybe we've matured a bit in the way we construct our sentences and things. But you know what? Sycophantically, as an author of this, and somebody whose memory is not great, so I don't remember really where we're going from here at this point, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens once our guys get out there with the audience, with their customers, with the guests, having an evening, and when the real shenanigans start. I'm really looking forward to that.
I think I would say I'm with you. There is definitely quite a few moments where I've cringed. And for you listeners, you won't know this because Steve and I can see the script in front of us. It is riddled with mistakes and misspellings and different people called different things. Alan, as a character, we can't even agree on the spelling of his name. I think it's spelled about 3 different ways so far. So, yeah, that's the bits you can't see that we can, that just makes me go, did we ever take a second pass of this one? And I don't believe we did. I think this is literally the first draft. So there you go. Until the next episode, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
On Bad Scripts. Bad Scripts was written and performed by Mike Garlia and Steve Jones, a Beach Tide production.